So this is obviously a serious allegation. Tell us what the truth is from your perspective.
It is a horrible allegation, and it is a lie. The New York Times is running a story that I have traveled with a 17-year-old woman, and that is verifiably false. People can look at my travel records and see that that is not the case. What is happening is an extortion of me and my family involving a former Department of Justice official. On March 16th, my father got a text message demanding a meeting wherein a person demanded $25 million in exchange for making horrible sex trafficking allegations against me go away. Our family was so troubled by that, we went to the local FBI. And the FBI and the Department of Justice were so concerned about this attempted extortion of a member of Congress that they asked my dad to wear a wire, which he did with the former Department of Justice official. Tonight, I am demanding that the Department of Justice and the FBI release the audio recordings that were made under their supervision and at their direction, which will prove my innocence and that will show that these allegations aren't true. They're merely intended to try to bleed my family out of money.
Who is this Department of Justice former employee who's trying to extort the money from you, you say?
His name is David McGee. He was a top official in the leadership in the Northern District of Florida as a prosecutor. He currently works at the Beggs and Lane law firm. As a matter of fact, one of the recordings that was made at the FBI and Department of Justice request occurred at that law firm, and the money that was supposed to be paid today that would have shown even more evidence of David McGee's work in this extortion scheme, that was foiled by the New York Times story, and I believe that's why this horrible information and these terrible allegations have been used to take them out of the conversation. I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. You were accused of something that you did not do, and so you know what this feels like. You know the pain it can bring to your family, and you know how it just puts people on defense when you're accused of something so salacious and awful. But it did not happen. It is not true. And the fact that it is the basis of this attempt to extort my family tells a lot. And if the FBI and Department of Justice will release the tapes that they are in possession of, the American people will see what is really going on.
You just referred to a mentally ill viewer who accused me of a sex crime 20 years ago. And of course, it was not true. I'd never met the person. But I do agree with you that being accused falsely is one of the worst things that can happen. And you do see it a lot. Let's go back to the investigation. You say that it was or is underway. There was an investigation. What is the basis of that investigation? What is the allegation? That's really not very clear from these news stories.
Yeah, again, I only know what I've read in the New York Times. I can say that actually you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. And she was actually threatened by the FBI, told that if she wouldn't cop to the fact that somehow I was involved in some pay-for-play scheme, that she could face trouble. And so I do believe that there are people at the Department of Justice who are trying to smear me, providing for flights and hotel rooms for people that you're dating who are of legal age is not a crime. And I'm just troubled that the lack of any sort of legitimate investigation into me would then convert into this extortion attempt.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly. But I would like to know who. So they're saying there is a 17-year-old girl who you had a relationship with. Is that true? And who are they? Who is this girl? What are they talking about at the New York Times?
The person doesn't exist. I have not had a relationship with a 17-year-old. That is totally false. The allegation, as I read it in the New York Times, is that I've traveled with some 17-year-old in some relationship. That is false, and records will bear that out to be.
I was not a target, but a subject of an investigation regarding sexual conduct with women. Gaetz has also fired off a series of tweets tonight claiming that he was the subject of an elaborate extortion scheme. Joining me now on the phone is New York Times reporter Katie Bennett, who shares the byline on this story. Katie, so good to have you on tonight. Tell us, what more do you know about the exact focus of the DOJ investigation?
Thanks so much for having me on. What we know is that the Justice Department began investigating Congressman Gaetz last summer. It stemmed from another investigation into one of the congressman's friends who was investigated and charged for a variety of crimes, including trafficking, trafficking of an underage woman. So it seems that what the Justice Department is looking at is whether or not Mr. Gaetz, in having this relationship with a 17-year-old girl, violated federal statutes that include interstate, taking her over state lines and giving her something of value, quote unquote, which could be money or it could be something like a travel expense. Understood.
Okay, in the simplest terms, have you confirmed whether or not Congressman Gaetz had a relationship with this young woman?
We just know that that is what investigators are looking into.
Okay. Understood. And we should note, as you say, this began last summer when the Justice Department was led by Bill Barr. All right, this evening, Congressman Gaetz, he tweeted several times after your report was posted, basically a statement, and I do want to read them here, quoting, "Over the past several weeks, my family and I have been victims of an organized criminal extortion involving a former DOJ official seeking $25 million while threatening to smear my name. We have been cooperating with federal authorities in this matter, and my father has even been wearing a wire at the FBI's direction to catch these criminals. The planted leak to the FBI tonight was intended to thwart that investigation. No part of the allegations against me are true, and the people pushing these lies are targets of the ongoing extortion investigation. I demand the DOJ immediately release the tapes made at their direction, which implicate their former colleague in crimes against me based on false allegations." I wonder, how does that square with your reporting and what he told you as you were reporting out this story?
I mean, that dovetails with our reporting. Keep in mind that when this investigation was opened, it was opened under the Justice Department under William P. Barr, who had last February told all prosecutors that if anyone's investigated who was a member of Congress, somebody running for office, anybody high profile, that investigation had to be signed off on by their supervisors, the U.S. attorney, the head of the criminal division, and then basically briefed to Bill Barr himself. So I think it's really unlikely that Bill Barr would have investigated one of President Trump's biggest allies as part of an extortion plot. So, separate from that, the idea of the extortion, we do have some reporting that last week somebody had heard about this investigation and did use the information to try to get money out of Congressman Gaetz' father. I don't think that what Congressman Gaetz is saying about extortion actually undermines the idea that he himself is under investigation.
Understood. One followed the other. Okay, important. Hold on for a moment here. I want to bring in CNN's chief political correspondent as well as co-anchor of State of the Union, Dana Bash. So, Dana, remarkable story here in the Times. Of course, those tweets from Congressman Gaetz, they make a huge claim about what he says he's been subject to. But as Katie was making the point, it seems that from her reporting, that extortion investigation followed the initial investigation of this improper relationship. What do you make of how he's responding to all this?
About these allegations against Congressman Matt Gaetz. He has served Florida's 1st district here since 2017, and then he was reelected just now in 2020 by a large margin. I did get some mixed reactions tonight from his constituents. Many of them did not want to talk on camera, but here's a couple of them who did.
I mean, how can you help the community whenever you're doing something that is a crime against humanity? I mean, if this is an underage girl we're talking about, if it's a baseless claim or if it turns out to not be real, then I definitely think that there should be some kind of truth that comes out of it.
With everything that's going on in government right now, everybody's trying to slander everyone. Just like Swalwell slept with the Asian spy, this is another way for the Democrats to go at the Republicans. So it's a tit for tat thing.